You've felt it before, haven't you? That crushing sensation when you pour your heart out in a message, only to be met with silence. That gnawing anxiety when your calls go unanswered, your texts unread. You've been on the receiving end of this psychological warfare, and it left you feeling powerless, desperate, maybe even a little pathetic. But what if I told you that this same weapon that once destroyed your confidence could become your greatest source of power? You see, you've been playing the game all wrong. While you were busy responding instantly, validating constantly, and giving attention freely, you were bleeding power with every interaction. Today, you're going to learn why ignoring isn't about disinterest. It's about psychological dominance. You're going to understand how Machiavelli's ancient wisdom applies to modern relationships and why the person who controls attention controls everything. The pain you've experienced, that confusion, that desperation, that need for validation when someone ignored you, that's exactly what you're going to learn to create. Not out of cruelty, but out of strategic necessity. Because in the modern dating battlefield, the one who cares less holds all the cards. And today you're going to learn how to become that person. You need to understand something fundamental about human psychology, especially in the context of modern relationships. We live in what I call the validation economy. Every like, every comment, every instant response is a microdose of validation. And just like any drug, people become addicted to it. Women in particular have been conditioned by social media to expect, no, to demand, constant validation. Their phones buzz with notifications all day long. Messages from admirers, likes on their photos, comments praising their beauty. But here's where you've been failing. You've been just another notification in the endless stream, another predictable source of validation, another man desperately vying for attention, instantly responding to every story, liking every photo within minutes of posting. You've made yourself as common as tap water, always available, never valued. Think about it. When was the last time you truly appreciated something that was always there? You don't. You take it for granted. That's exactly what you've become in her mind. Background noise, white static, utterly forgettable. Now, let me explain what happens psychologically when you flip this script. When you suddenly stop being that predictable source of validation, something fascinating occurs in the human brain. The anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain that processes social rejection, lights up like a Christmas tree. The same neural pathways that process physical pain start firing. That's right, being ignored literally hurts. But it goes deeper than just pain. You see, when someone who usually gives us attention suddenly withdraws it, our brain interprets this as a threat to our social status. The amygdala triggers a stress response. Cortisol floods the system. And here's the kicker. This stress response makes the brain hyper-focused on eliminating the threat. In other words, she becomes obsessed with getting your attention back. You've probably experienced this yourself. Remember that girl who barely gave you the time of day? The one whose sporadic attention had you checking your phone every 5 minutes? That's the position you're going to put yourself in. Not by being mean, not by being cruel, but by being strategically absent. Let me paint you a picture of how this works in practice. She sends you a message, maybe it's flirty, maybe it's just casual conversation. Your instinct, programmed by years of social conditioning, is to respond immediately, to show her you're interested, available, eager. Stop. This is where power is won or lost. You read the message, you see she's online, she can see you've read it, and then nothing. You don't respond, not for hours. Maybe not even until the next day. What happens in her mind during this time is pure psychological alchemy. First comes confusion. Did he not see it? No. It says read. Is he busy? But he's been online. Then comes rationalization. Maybe he's talking to someone else. Maybe he's not as interested as I thought. Then comes the critical moment, self-doubt. Was my message boring? Did I say something wrong? Why isn't he responding like he usually does? And that self-doubt, that's where your power grows, because now for the first time, she's thinking about you more than you're thinking about her. She's investing emotional energy into decoding your behavior. You've become a puzzle, a mystery, something worth solving. Machiavelli understood that being feared is more reliable than being loved, but there's something even more powerful than fear: uncertainty. You see, The human brain is a prediction machine. We're constantly trying to anticipate what's going to happen next. It's a survival mechanism, and when we can't predict something, it consumes our attention. By being strategically unpredictable with your attention, you become impossible to categorize. Sometimes you respond quickly, sometimes you take days, sometimes you initiate conversation, sometimes you go silent for a week. This inconsistency creates what psychologists call an intermittent reinforcement schedule, the most addictive behavioral pattern known to psychology. Think about gambling. Why do people get addicted to slot machines? It's not because they win every time. It's because they never know when they're going to win. The uncertainty, the unpredictability, that's what hooks the brain. You're going to become her personal slot machine, sometimes paying out with attention, sometimes going cold. And just like a gambler, she'll keep pulling the lever, hoping for a jackpot. Here's something most men don't understand about modern relationships. There's a concept called emotional labor, the effort required to manage feelings and maintain relationships. Traditionally, men have been doing most of this labor. We're the ones initiating conversations, planning dates, maintaining momentum, constantly proving our worth. When you master strategic ignoring, you transfer this labor to her. Suddenly, she's the one wondering how to get your attention. She's the one crafting the perfect message. She's the one analyzing your social media activity, trying to decode your interests. The entire dynamic shifts. You go from being the pursuer to the pursued. I've seen this play out countless times. A man who used to send paragraph-long messages professing his interest starts responding with 1 or 2 words. A man who used to like every photo now scrolls past without acknowledgement. And what happens? Suddenly, she's in his DMs. Suddenly, she's asking if everything's okay. Suddenly, she's working for his attention. You need to understand that this isn't just about playing games. This taps into deep biological programming. Throughout human evolution, women have been attracted to men who had options, men who were in demand, men who didn't need them. It's called pre-selection, and it's hardwired into our DNA. When you respond instantly to every message, when you're always available, you're signaling that you have no other options. You're broadcasting your low value. But when you're strategically unavailable, when your attention is scarce, you're signaling the opposite. You must have other options. You must have other priorities. You must be valuable. This triggers something primal in the female psyche. The competitive instinct kicks in. If other women want you, if you're hard to get, then you must be worth having. It's not logical, it's biological, and biology trumps logic every single time. One of the most powerful aspects of strategic ignoring is how it destroys comfort zones. You see, most relationships fall into patterns. She knows you'll text her good morning. She knows you'll respond within minutes. She knows you'll like her photos. This predictability breeds complacency, and complacency is where attraction goes to die. When you break these patterns, you shatter her comfort zone. That good morning text she's grown accustomed to, gone. That instant validation she expects, withdrawn. And here's what's beautiful about this. Humans hate losing things they've grown accustomed to more than they enjoy gaining new things. It's called loss aversion, and it's one of the most powerful psychological principles. By withdrawing attention she's grown to expect, you create a sense of loss that's far more powerful than the pleasure she got from receiving it in the first place. She'll work twice as hard to get back to that comfort zone, not realizing that in doing so, she's handing you all the power. You need to understand something critical about how value is perceived in relationships. Value isn't objective. It's entirely based on perception. And perception is influenced by scarcity. The less available something is, the more valuable it seems. This is why limited edition products sell for premium prices. This is why exclusive clubs have lines around the block. Your attention needs to become a limited edition product. Not everyone gets it. Not everyone deserves it. And certainly, no one gets it on demand. When you adopt this mindset, something shifts in how you carry yourself. You stop being needy. You stop seeking validation. You become the validator. This reframe is crucial because it's not just about her perception, it's about yours. When you truly believe your attention is valuable, when you truly believe you're the prize, it shows in every interaction, or in this case, every non-interaction. Your silence speaks louder than desperate words ever could. Let me tell you about the moment everything changes. It's the moment when she, the woman who's used to being chased, who's accustomed to having men orbit around her like planets around the sun, realizes that you're different. It starts subtly. Maybe she sends you a particularly flirty message, expecting the usual eager response. But hours pass, then a day. You can almost see the transformation happening in real time through her messages. The first follow-up is casual, playing it cool. "Hey, did you see my message?" But you maintain your silence. The second message reveals the cracks in her composure. Maybe she double texts. Maybe she sends a meme trying to re-engage you. Still nothing. Then comes the revelation moment, the moment when her entire reality shifts. She realizes that for the first time in maybe years, she's the one chasing. She's the one feeling insecure. She's the one whose messages are being ignored. The power dynamic hasn't just shifted, it's completely reversed. I've watched this happen and it's almost poetic. The woman who had 5 other guys blowing up her phone is now fixated on the one who won't respond. She's showing her friends your conversation, asking what she did wrong. She's stalking your social media, trying to figure out if you're seeing someone else. She's crafting and deleting messages, trying to find the perfect thing to say to get your attention. This is the moment when she goes from seeing you as just another option to seeing you as the option, because in her mind, any man who can ignore her must have something special. Any man who isn't desperately vying for her attention must have better options. Any man who values his own time more than her validation must be worth pursuing. The transformation is complete when she starts doing things she swore she'd never do. Maybe she shows up where she knows you'll be. Maybe she reaches out to your friends to ask about you. Maybe she posts stories specifically designed to get your attention. The hunter has become the hunted, and she doesn't even realize how it happened. But let's go deeper into what's really happening in her psyche during this power shift. You see, most women, especially attractive ones, build their entire self-worth around their ability to capture and maintain male attention. It's their currency, their power source, their validation pipeline. When you cut off this supply, you're not just ignoring her, you're attacking the very foundation of her self-perception. This creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Her brain can't reconcile 2 conflicting beliefs, I'm desirable and all men want me, versus this man is ignoring me. To resolve this dissonance, her brain will choose the path of least resistance. Instead of questioning her desirability, which would be psychologically devastating, she'll elevate your value. You must be special. You must be different. You must be worth pursuing. This is why the silent treatment is so devastatingly effective. You're not arguing with her, you're not insulting her, you're not explicitly rejecting her, you're simply absent. And absence, when deployed strategically, is the most powerful presence of all. Here's what separates the amateurs from the masters in this game. Amateurs ignore out of anger or hurt. Masters ignore out of strategy. You need to understand that this isn't about being butthurt or playing childish games. This is about emotional regulation and strategic thinking. When you feel that urge to respond immediately, when you feel that need for validation, that's your weakness showing. Every time you give in to that urge, you're handing over power. But when you can sit with that discomfort, when you can delay gratification, when you can prioritize long-term power over short-term validation, that's when you become truly dangerous. Think about it like this. Every interaction is a micro-negotiation for power. When you respond instantly, you're saying, I have nothing better to do than talk to you. When you delay, you're saying, I'll get to you when I get to you. The message is clear, even though no words are spoken. Your time is valuable. Your attention is earned, not given. Now let me break down exactly how to implement this in your daily life. First, you need to understand timing. Not all ignoring is created equal. Ignoring her good morning text, that's amateur hour. Anyone can do that. But ignoring her when she's being vulnerable, when she's sharing something important, when she's explicitly seeking your validation, that's where the real power lies. You see, strategic ignoring is about contrast. If you always ignore her, you're just an asshole who doesn't respond to messages. But if you sometimes engage deeply, showing that you're capable of connection, and then withdraw that connection strategically. That's when her brain goes into overdrive. Here's a practical example. She texts you about her day, complaining about work. You engage, you listen, you validate. The conversation is flowing. Then, right when she's expecting you to ask her out, right when she's expecting you to escalate, you disappear. Hey, I gotta run, talk later. And then you're gone, for days. What happens in her mind? She replays the conversation. Was she boring? Did she say something wrong? Why did you leave so abruptly? The hamster wheel in her brain starts spinning, and every rotation increases your value in her mind. Here's where most men fail with this strategy. They think ignoring is the end goal. It's not. Ignoring is just the tool to create investment. You see, the more someone invests in you, emotionally, mentally, temporally, the more they value you. It's called the sunk cost fallacy, and it's one of the most powerful psychological principles in relationships. Every time she double texts you, she's investing. Every time she crafts the perfect message to get your attention, she's investing. Every time she thinks about why you're not responding, she's investing. And investment creates attachment. The more she invests in getting your attention, the more she'll value it when she finally gets it. This is why intermittent reinforcement is so powerful. Just when she's about to give up, just when she's about to write you off as uninterested, you respond, but not with enthusiasm, not with paragraphs of text, just enough to keep her hooked. Hey, been busy. What's up? That's it. That's all she gets, and she'll be grateful for it. You need to understand that whoever controls the frame controls the relationship. The frame is the underlying assumption about how things work between you. Most men operate from a frame of scarcity. They're grateful for female attention, they're trying to impress, they're hoping to be chosen. This frame makes them weak. When you master strategic ignoring, you flip this frame entirely. Now the underlying assumption is that your attention is the prize. She's the one who should be grateful. She's the one who should be trying to impress. She's the one hoping to be chosen. This frame shift is so powerful that it literally changes the entire dynamic of every interaction. But here's the key. You can't fake this frame. You can't pretend your attention is valuable while secretly being desperate for hers. You have to genuinely develop a life, interests, and options that make your attention actually scarce. The ignoring isn't the strategy, it's the natural result of having better things to do. So now you understand the truth that's been hidden from you. Now you see why every time you responded instantly, every time you gave validation freely, every time you made yourself constantly available, you were bleeding power. You were playing the game with a losing strategy, wondering why you always ended up feeling used, ignored, discarded. The man who masters strategic silence doesn't do it out of spite or manipulation. He does it because he understands a fundamental truth. Attention is currency, and whoever controls the currency controls the relationship. When you can sit in silence while she spirals in uncertainty, when you can delay gratification while she seeks validation, when you can remain unmoved while she tries everything to move you, that's when you become sovereign. Think about the most powerful men throughout history. Did they chase? Did they beg for attention? Did they respond instantly to every summons? No. They made others wait. They made others work for their attention. They understood that true power isn't in what you say, it's in what you don't say. You've learned today that ignoring isn't about playing games. It's about recognizing your own value. It's about understanding that your time, your attention, your emotional energy are finite resources that should be invested wisely, not scattered carelessly. The woman who truly deserves your attention will work for it. The one who doesn't will reveal herself through her reaction to its absence. Remember this, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And indifference, when wielded strategically, is the most powerful weapon in the modern man's arsenal. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be cruel. You just have to be absent. Let her fill that absence with her own insecurities, her own desires, her own investment. Let her come to you. The real question is, are you strong enough to use this knowledge? Can you resist the dopamine hit of instant validation? Can you sit in the discomfort of not responding when every fiber of your being wants to? Can you trust that your absence will be more powerful than your presence? I want to know, have you ever experienced this from the other side? Have you ever been strategically ignored and felt its power? More importantly, are you ready to flip the script? Comment below with your experiences. If this video opened your eyes to the game that's been played on you, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel because I'm revealing truths about female psychology that nobody else will tell you. And don't stop here. Check out my previous videos on dark psychology and power dynamics. Every video is another piece of the puzzle, another tool in your arsenal. The men who understand these dynamics don't just survive in the modern dating world. They thrive. They don't chase. They attract. They don't beg. They select. The choice is yours. You can go back to being another notification in her phone, another source of predictable validation, another forgotten conversation. Or you can become the one man she can't figure out, can't forget, can't ignore. The power has always been yours. You just didn't know how to use it. Until now. Remember, true power isn't in responding, it's in the strategic choice not to. Master this, and you master the game.